In today's show, 3 keys for the Trailblazers as they head into the stretch run of the season. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You listen to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, so make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's program, I got 3 keys for the Trailblazers as they head into the final 26 games, the stretch run, the post-All-Star break stretch of their season. Some people call it the second half, but me, I know it ain't a half. But 3 keys, what they need to do, controllable things, relatively controllable things that they can do to make the most of the immediate and their push towards the postseason, because that is a goal that the team has, even if you, noble ping pong ball enthusiast, has other goals. But as they push towards the postseason, and then they think about what is next for them. We will get to what is next at the end of the show. Let's start with some sort of simple stuff they can control. Number 1 on my 3 keys for the Blazers, and apologies to the Lamar Hurd. This one is his 3 keys that he shows on the broadcast, or explains on the broadcast for the Blazers every single night. These 3 keys, not sponsored by a car dealership. My first key for the Blazers second half of the season. Oops. Stretch run of the season. Whoops. During the stretch run, post All-Star break, defend without fouling. That's a very simple kind of like it's real the least helpful assistant on your high school basketball team type of input, but I think there's merit to this beyond sort of my status as the least helpful assistant coach on your high school basketball team. On the year, the Blazers are a foul heavy team. They're 21st in opponent free throw rate. They put their opponents on the free throw line. Last year, they were 24th in opponent free throw rate. But some of the trade-off last year is they were really, really, really good at forcing turnovers. They're not that this year. They've taken a step back. They have. Last year they were 5th in forcing opponent turnovers, 5th in the NBA. Now they're 12th. You know, it's like if you're not going to get the live ball turnovers at the same level, being a foul heavy team doesn't have the same trade-off. And in fact, the Blazers have played a bunch more zone this year, particularly this 3-2 zone we've seen recently, where they basically it's not a zone designed to force turnovers. It's a zone designed to make jump shots a little bit harder, and they really don't force turnovers when they play the zone at all. The numbers suggest they basically don't, almost none. They limit points per possession a little bit, but they certainly don't force turnovers, and they don't get out and run. So if the trade-off for being a high foul team is turnovers, but you don't force them at a high level, to me, the key here is to not give up easy points. So I looked back at the Blazers' best stretch of the season to kind of build this key. From December 28th to January 22nd, about a month of basketball, they went 11-3. And the 3rd lowest opponent free throw rate in the league during that stretch. That was really the secret to their sauce. Nothing else dramatically changed about their profile as a team during that stretch other than limiting opponent turnovers. Limiting opponent free throws. Keeping opponents off the line. Giving up easy points. Free throws are easy points. Even because, there's not a lot of hack-a-shacking these days. Like the guys who draw free throws on the other team, for the most part, are relatively competent free throw shooters. Those are your attackers, your drivers, your guys get inside. Obviously, some nights you foul a big man who can't make free throws as much, and he shoots 8 or 9, that drags it down. But the rate, letting opponents get to the free throw line often has been something the Blazers have done, and it's one of the reasons they're probably a below average team defensively this year. Something that was a profile for them last year, but they had a sort of trade-off for it. Assuming that you can't just magically say, okay, now we're going to be a good turnover forcing team. One thing you can do is try to limit fouls. And I'm not saying don't contest. I think it is limiting the stupid fouls, limiting the fouls fighting for a rebound 80 feet from the rim, the reach in stuff. You need to compete and be physical. Like there's not just like a magic formula, but cutting out some of the stupid fouls that put teams in the bonus early and gets them to the free throw line, that's key. The other important part of the stretch when the Blazers had their best run though, from this season, for that month when they won 11 of 14, is they shot very well on above the break threes. But I don't feel comfortable putting that in the keys because the Blazers are not a good 3-point shooting team. On the year, they're tied with Dallas and Sacramento as I guess depending on how you round it. They're either the second worst shooting team in the league or tied with Dallas and Sacramento for the worst 3-point shooting team in the league. Right? They're one of the worst. They're one of the 3 worst shooting teams in the NBA. The difference being that Sacramento, which plays this totally anachronistic style of basketball, doesn't shoot threes, and Dallas doesn't shoot threes. They are way low in attempts relative to the league, but the Blazers buck that trend, right? They are, for a team that is not particularly accurate, they play the math. They chuck up threes. They're second in the league in 3-point attempts, right? They play the math in spite of the bricks. So while I look like, hey, what made them good during their best stretch? What made them good? The shooting is for real there. Most of it, digging a little bit deeper, was making above the break threes. They shot very poorly on corner threes during the stretch. 29th in 3-point accuracy from the corners. This is above the break 3-point making. This was the best shooting run of Don Klingen's season during that stretch, and then some real clunkers at the end of it. But this is. I think it would be too simple to say, hey, how about the worst shooting team in the league just make shots for once? But I will note this, because of the volume during that stretch when they won 11 of 13, they just jumped from 34% on the year. During that stretch, they shot 35% from 3 on 43 attempts per game. If this team ever gets real shooters, and perhaps they have one in Vit Krejci, but many real shooters on the floor at the same time, they're going to be hard to deal with because of the quality of shots they get. They're second in the league in rim attempts, combined rim attempts and 3-point attempts. They play a certain type of way, but they might not have that personnel. So for me, key number 1 to kind of get them where they need to go down the stretch is limit opponent free throw attempts. I don't expect them to be third like they were during that stretch in December to January, right? Some of that is probably just like matchup stuff that I'd have to dig into a little bit deeper, and maybe the margins there are really thin, and you end up, you foul 4 more times in the bonus, and you're something like 16th, right? Like I'm just looking at sort of the numbers, sort of more broadly relative to the rest of the teams in the league during that stretch. But if from 21st as they are right now, say they're like league average, right? 15th, 14th, somewhere in the 14 to 16 range, like league average in opponent free throw rate. That's going to just bump them up and make their defense that much better because they're not going to be giving up easy points. And the more possessions that you can just like get to defend and not end up with the opponent at the free throw line, the better. While I do think it would be nice to say, how about they just make some shots, because that was a key part of their most successful stretch, I think it's unfair. A thing you can control is being smart in the way you defend. Defend without fouling. Keep guys at the free throw line. That is step 1. Step 2, well, we'll talk about that in the second segment. Join me there. What's the second key to the Blazers stretch run? We'll talk about that after the break. Join me there, won't you? First, though, let's talk about Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, index overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping you find the right candidates. You are searching them out where they already are. And here's a stat that tells it all. In the minute I'm going to be talking to you during this ad, companies like yours will make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. That's less stress, less time, and more results when you're looking for folks to fill your job needs. And when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All listeners to my show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your premium job status it deserves. at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support my show by saying you heard about the Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Today's show also brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax season. Y'all know the deal. It doesn't have to take over your life though, because this year TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and let a TurboTax expert take care of business for you. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours or, stressful evenings trying to figure out all the documents you need to chase down, whether you got W-2s or self-employed forms, you can just hand over, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or online. They'll handle everything and get you every deduction that you deserve. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in their TurboTax app. And for a limited time, you can have your taxes done for a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file your taxes for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right. Thanks for making the show your first listen. If you're living that everyday lifestyle, if you truly do listen to the show every day, do me a favor. Go join the Locked On Everydayer Club. You get access to an ad-free version of this podcast. If you're an audio listener, this is great for you. It's Locked On Blazers, an audio feed of Locked On Blazers without the interruptions, plus access to the members-only Discord where you can chop it up with me and your fellow Blazer fans. A little place to hang out and talk hoops. $5 a month or $50 a year. It's lockedonblazers.supercast.com, and the link is in the show notes for this episode. Okay, what's key number 2 to the Blazers stretch run? TCB. Those are the key letters. They just got to take care of business. Take care of business. That's what this stretch is about for them. They're going to play a bunch of teams that don't want to win. And the Blazers need to hand those teams exactly what they want. During the final 26 games of the season, the Blazers are going to play the Pacers 2 times, the Brooklyn Nets 2 times, the Kings, the Wizards, the Pelicans, the Jazz. Those are 8 teams that I think undeniably want to lose. Now, with the threats from the league, what level of losing can these teams do? A lot, y'all. The Pacers, maybe they'll play Zubats in one of the games that they play against the Blazers, and Zoo will help them be a little bit better, and maybe Obi Toppin will come back. But what button are the Nets going to press? Every minute without Michael Porter Jr. on the court, they're bad. The Kings, they're not even doing this on purpose. That's just a bad basketball team. All these whatever ignoble tankers, and then the Kings that are just whatever. We're just bad. We're just a bad basketball team. Whoops. We just lose almost every night, and not even by some nefarious act, just by virtue of building a horrendous roster that never made sense from the beginning. The Wizards are extremely young. Obviously, the Blazers lost to them in Washington, so anything is possible. But they're not good. That's the team you should beat. They're not a good basketball team. The Pelicans, obviously, the Blazers lost to them and kind of got handled by them once in New Orleans. But again, the Pels, while they don't have any incentive to lose this year without their draft pick, they have not been competitive. They're just a team that's bad. They're not actively losing because of chasing a draft pick. They're actively losing because of talent, right? They're just not any good. The Jazz, the sort of the poster children of tanking this year. I guess maybe they'll get forced into playing Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen out of bullying from the league or something. But I'll say this, if one of those dudes has a lightly sprained ankle, they're going to be cautious. They're going to be cautious with them. So we'll see how brave the Jazz are, if they're really about that life. Throw the Bucks and the Mavs in this mix, right? That's the Bucks. I don't know if Giannis Antetokounmpo will return. I think if they're smart, he probably won't. Although I could see an argument for if he plays, we might make the playoffs, right? Or at least the play-in. Although they're pretty far out of it and they're pretty bad. The roster's pretty bad. Don't get it twisted. But having throw Giannis into the mix, I guess you've got a puncher's chance down the stretch, particularly with if some other teams in the bottom half of the East play-in race stumble a little bit. And the Mavs, like, just bad injury luck, horrendous injury luck this year. Like, if, they're not very good, and if Cooper Flag doesn't play, they're really not very good. So we'll see. Like, the Mavs are not a tanking team. Again, there's one of the bad teams, right? But that's 10 games. Pacers twice, Nets twice, Kings, Wizards, Pels, Jazz, Bucks, Mavs. 10 games against teams that are straight up bad and either are actively losing or have been trying to win all year and are still among the worst teams in the league. So I think it would be unfair in the same way that I don't think it's like, it's not fair to say just make 3-pointers. I'm talking about the first segment. It's like, how did they get good? Well, they stopped fouling and they made threes. I think stop fouling is a little more controllable than making threes, right? For just kind of based on where the Blazers are. I think it would be unfair to say, well, you got to win all 10 of those. I think it would be unfair to map out in your sort of prognosticator brain to say, like, well, they're gonna win 10. Oh, that's 10 wins. Just book it, right? The league is unforgiving. These other teams, like, as bad as they are, have basketball teams or have NBA basketball players on the roster, and like the Blazers aren't so widely better than any of these teams that you're like, oh yeah, it's done deal. But you rack up, so I think a couple things here. To go 6-4 in that stretch of 10 games is like a mild disaster. Not an actual disaster, but a mild disaster. That would be you'd have 4 pretty yucky losses on your schedule on the old ledger in the second half of the season. So I think 6-4 is like straight up really bad. I think winning 9 or 10 of these games, while doable, feels relatively unlikely. I think the number you're looking for here is 8. I think you want to win 8 out of these 10 games. Set the floor there at 8. Like 7 is totally reasonable to win 70% of these games when some teams are going to actively be losing and you're playing them in your building in March. And some of these are on the road, and obviously road games are hard, just period. But like, if you win 8 of these 10 games, you're just like right there from where they are as they sit today. You add 8 onto this. That's 35 wins. There are 35 wins, and then they can push forward and see kind of what they can be from that 35 win mark. This is just the sort of the truth of having a softer schedule the back half of the season is that they're in position to, if you don't even have to, obviously you're going to want to beat some of the good teams, right? I think coming right immediately out of the break, the Blazers don't play a super cake schedule. Like it gets easier after the sort of first week or so. But when you come out of that, after that first week out of the break, right? Take care of business, stay afloat, and then you get these take care of business games down the stretch. You're in position. Like, I'm not a big believer in sort of relative strength of schedule comparison. Like, hey, your schedule's so much easier than theirs just because of health and all the unpredictable things. But I am a believer that some NBA teams are bad, and I think like these are winnable games. These are obviously winnable games. Obviously, the Blazers' health is a factor here as well, but win 8 of these, give yourself 35, 36 wins, you're in business because you just have to win. I think 41 gets you in a really good spot to end up in 9th and not 10th. So you start at home. And if you win more than that, like if you're pushing above that 41st win, you might have a real legitimate chance at finishing 8th and getting out of, getting out of having to play one play-in game to advance to the postseason, or at least having 2 cracks at it to play postseason basketball. That's a meaningful difference. And to get that meaningful difference, a controllable path forward is just like take care of business against bad basketball teams. Again, 10 would be awesome. 9 would be impressive. I think the number you're looking for here, if you're sort of doing the how are the Blazers going to get it done math, is minimum 8 of these games. That is the sort of threshold. You win 8 of these games, you're in business. Okay, what's the final key? I don't think it's not just a key for me to close the show. We'll talk about it for the last 26 games of this year, but for the future of the franchise. Let's talk about the future in the third segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, let's talk FanDuel. You ever want to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA futures bets, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flight tickets, the whole experience. So, you can look at the futures board on FanDuel, and you can think about maybe which team's going to make a deep playoff run. Well, if you lock it in now, say you're making a futures bet on who's going to win the NBA title, or who's going to come out of the Western Conference, who's going to win in the Eastern Conference, whatever it might be, there are futures options on the board for you. Pick now. Not only are you going to get your cash if you're right, but you could also send yourself and someone you know to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. We're running through our 3 keys for the Blazers in the stretch run. 1 is defend without fouling. 2, take care of business. And 3, find a lineup of the present with an eye on the future. That's right. The future. Is that a future voice? I don't know what voice that is. The Blazers have... Following this NBA All-Star weekend, they have a looming legend. Damian Lillard's going to come back and play basketball at some time in the fall. I would imagine night 1. And I think it is far too early to worry about how's that going to work, right? Like, it's February. They have to play all of these basketball games, and they have what they need to answer before that comes up, and we'll talk about it a bunch. Like, I'm going to do roughly, looking at the math real quick, about 120 more podcasts before Damian Lillard plays basketball again. Maybe even a little bit more than that. But like about 120 more episodes. We'll be all right. We'll get there. We'll talk about it. But like, I think for now, it's finding out what works in the immediate to inform the decisions you may have to make in the future. And so much of that is because they haven't really had Scoot Henderson at all this year. He's played 4 games. Looked pretty good in those 4 games. I think he's been mostly very promising, quite frankly, in those 4 games, despite some turnover problems. But like, you feel like, stop turning the dang ball over, and like, a lot of the other stuff he does is really effective. They, Shaedon Sharpe immediately got hurt right when Scoot came back. They haven't really, Drew has been, missed a big chunk of time. Like, they haven't had some of the guys who seem to be like core parts of the, quite frankly, like the Damian Lillard calculation. So when I'm talking about a lineup of the present with an eye on the future, I'm mostly talking about the guard combos, because quite frankly, pencil Denny Avdia in, right? Pencil him in. He's going to play. He's the best player on the team. Pencil Donovan Clingan in. I don't know if he's been the second best player on the team, but he's certainly the best center by a kajillion million miles currently on the roster. No, that's not true. He's not a kajillion million miles better than Rob. He can just play more, and he's been pretty darn good this year. He's taken a step forward in a way that is promising. I think you can probably pencil in Toumani Camara. He plays the most minutes on the team. He's their best defender. He just kind of offers what they need in terms of someone who can guard at the point of attack. They don't have another person who can do that right now. He's got to be the one who guards kind of speedy guards. That's probably not his best skill, but he absolutely has to be the one on the team to take that responsibility. They need him on the court, right? He's going to be on the court at the end of the games, because you're going to need that at the end of games anyways. Probably going to be, even if we're not talking starting lineup in the find the lineup that works, it's going to be the lineup that wins. You're going to have Toumani in it. I am certain of it. So I think your front court is basically set in terms of, like, for the stretch run of this season, who's going to play. Drew Holiday's probably going to play over one of the 2 youngsters to close out the year, because he's just better than he's been better than both of them. Scoot has been Shea's been good and Scoot's been good, but I think Drew, in terms of like impact on winning, has been better. Although, man, Drew has not looked great since coming back from injury for sure. And perhaps, Father Time, Mother Nature, it'll catch up, right? But I imagine Drew will play. But it's not just like because, Drew will play, pencil him in. It's more like, Okay, does Drew work? Does Drew and Scoot work? It's the combos. Does Drew and Scoot work? Does Drew and Shea work? Does Scoot and Shea work? Boy, do I want to see that duo play a bunch together down the stretch of the season to figure out if that's even viable for the future. And when you're looking at those combos, what don't they have? I haven't even mentioned Jeremy Grant. Do they just need to play him not only for the shooting, but because they just need more size on the court? The best Blazers defensive groups over the last 2 years have included like some of these more of these jumbo lineups where like Tumani or Denny is functionally the other guard, depending on how you want to slice it. Probably Tumani's the guard on defense and Denny's the guard on offense is probably how I would describe it, but that's because I don't really believe in positions. I believe in roles. But like, I think one of the keys for them to kind of solve is what works. According to Cleaning the Glass, there have been 22 lineups in the first 2/3 of the season up to the All-Star break that have played at least 300 possessions together. 16 of those have positive net ratings, which is typical for big minute lineups because most teams would say, this lineup doesn't work, we're not going to play at big minutes, right? Like typically most teams' most commonly used lineup is a positive because if it wasn't, they would bail on it. That is usually how that works, right? It's like the math kind of, the snake eats its tail, right? But there are 6 lineups, I should say, because the Nuggets have a couple of very good lineups. It's a good basketball team. Playing with Nikola Jokic it helps. But like the Blazers are one of 6 teams in this 6 lineups. The Blazers deploy one of the 6 lineups among the most used that is a negative, that gets outscored, a negative net rating. They get outscored by 1.6 points per possession with the Shaedon Sharpe, Drew Holiday, Tumani Kamara, Denny Avdia, and Donovan Clingan quintet on the court, according to Cleaning the Glass. That's not that bad. If they break about even with what they are right now with that group, I'd be fine with it. Obviously, you want a devastating lineup, right? You want a five-man pair, a 5-man grouping that outscores the opponent by like 8 points per 100 possessions and 17 points per 100 possessions, right? Like something where it's like, if we get these 5 out there, we win the minutes. But I don't think the Blazers are there talent-wise yet. It just hasn't happened for them, and a lot of that is like the growth of the youngsters, the step forward of both young guards, of Scoot and Shaedon Sharpe, along with hopefully the sort of getting back to a general baseline of consistency of Drew Holiday. Although I will say, Drew Holiday right before the break was awesome in that final game. So like, I think why I say a lineup of the present is, what is your best group? I didn't mention this up front, and I should have. The free square on this bingo card, I can't believe I didn't get to this till the 28-minute mark of the show. Whoops! The free square on this bingo card is get healthy, but I think get healthy is such a stupid key that who cares? It's like, duh. Hey, it would be better if all of the players on your roster were available. Thank you. That's the type of brilliant insight we get from the least helpful assistant coach on our high school basketball team. You're looking at him. But like, so, get healthy, whatever, free bingo square, fill it out right at the beginning. Because so much of just figuring out a lineup that works, or a couple lineups that work, or moreover, why lineups don't work. They just get killed on defense with that group. They just don't have enough shooting with that group. They, like whatever it is, finding that data as you kind of push forward is really important, because then when you do have Dame in the fall, what works, what didn't, what you like, what didn't you like is so much easier to sort through. Obviously, it's going to be small sample size. They're going to play 25 games together or whatever, maybe probably less, right? And fully healthy. But the key for them, just regardless, remains getting as much information about what they have and what particularly the guards, what the trio of guards of Drew and Shea and Scoot look like together, separate with the rest of the group, and as much data and sort of like it, not data like the numbers, right? It's not like pulling up the numbers. It's seeing it, because you're going to assume that Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson get better. Okay. It worked because of this. Where can they get better to make it more useful? And I think that's the key for them. That's find the lineup that works. It'd be great if it was one lineup that was like, hey, down the stretch of the season, outscored opponents by 6 points or five or 6 points in the final 25 games. But if it is a couple net neutral lineups that you feel like, okay, this this checks a lot of boxes, and we are of the belief that these 22-year-olds are going to get better at basketball, then you can feel really comfortable going forward. And then also when you do face the great Damian Lillard question of October 2026, you at least kind of know how to ask the question, how to frame it, because that will eventually be there, but it is not something to worry about even remotely for them during the stretch run. The stretch run is all about maximizing what they can learn about this group that they actually have playing, because the now informs the later. That is going to do it for today's show. Come back for tomorrow's show. We'll talk Adam Silver's press conference where he discussed league expansion, potential or not potential for relocating teams. And yes, he talked about tanking. We'll do that all in tomorrow's program. It's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. Do me a favor, tell your friends about the podcast. And if you made it this far and you're an audio listener, give a serious consideration to joining the Everydayer Club, an ad-free version of this podcast in your audio feed, plus access to the members-only Discord. More in the show notes for this episode. Tell your friends about the program. Come back for tomorrow's show. I appreciate you listening. I will talk to you soon.